Too bad.
What do you mean too bad?
I like Jameson's.
Oh, I see.
It's too bad I wouldn't be the one tasting it.
Well, I would suggest you buy a bottle. Keep it home. Well, if it comes down to it, wouldn't you rather face that situation completely blotto? Okay? Would you really want to be sober for the end of the world?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know I wouldn't. If I knew there was no escape.
You don't get drunk. Don't even.
Terry, if there was a nuclear detonation close enough that I knew I took a massive dose of radiation, I am going to smoke 5 cigars at once, get shit-faced drunk, and go eat so much damn sugar I don't wake up.
Damn.
I told you what radiation poisoning is. You do not want to die that way.
You have guns. You could just shoot yourself.
I could do that too, but who wants to do that? They don't have to. Better to die a sugar shock, feeding all your bad habits at once.
Be more fun.
You wouldn't feel it coming anyway. Well, if you want, I can give you a gun with 1 bullet.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
At least 2.
Why?
Billy.
He has a gun. He can use his own.
He does not have a gun.
He told me he does, and why would I not believe him?
He has a gun. He does not have a gun.
Because he moves in the circles where getting one would be fairly easy for
He
him.
doesn't have a gun.
That's a good thing to say because he's not supposed to be in.
But he doesn't.
I'm just saying it's what he told me.
Well, he tells people lots of things.
I have no reason not to believe him by something petty like that. I can understand him telling me stories about the wild amounts of pussy he gets and stuff like that, and me not believing it. But if he tells me he's got a gun or he's got $500 in the mattress, why am I not going to believe him? That just
because
if you're going to start,
if you're going to
start telling porkies, that's pretty pathetic.
He does that.
Yeah, well, whatever. I don't really care one way or the other, but it would be better if he did have one if something was to happen.
But he doesn't. Well, I can't say. I mean, at least not that I know of. He doesn't have one.
Yeah. Well, let's hope you don't know everything.
What?
That he actually does. Either you'll need it for protection or you'll need it to take care of things. I mean, you may have warning, you may not. If you do have warning, you go directly home and you stay there as fast as you can. That's the best place to be because whatever help you have is there. It's your possessions, what food you have, the area. Who's going to take care of your cat if you're not home when it happens?
My cat.
Well, you know what the cat's going to be used for eventually, but
no!
in the immediate... Now, just because there's a warning of an attack does not mean it's going to be us. It could be somewhere else. It could happen in D.C. It could happen far enough away that it doesn't immediately affect us with things like radiation and things like that.
Will it affect us eventually?
Yes.
Why?
Well, our food comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from here. Our electricity.
It doesn't come from Washington, D.C.?
It may transship through there. Or areas close by that get dosed with radiation and are dead zones. Electricity and transmission. And, of course, electromagnetic pulse very likely will affect us, even if it's that far away. A bomb detonated high enough in the atmosphere would take out the whole East Coast.
But you said that's more just like...
That's for electronics and to disturb communications, electrical transmission, and, infrastructure, basically. But if trucks can't move, you don't get fed. If trains don't move, you don't get fed. The food we eat comes from the Midwest and the rest of the world. I got fruit in there. It was probably grown in South America. I got meat that could have come from Australia. Who knows? There's no tag on it to say this meat is from a farm 10 miles outside of town. No, it comes from a lot of places.
When I worked here, when I was up doing the scanning, we had to put this. Well, we had to tell produce to put stickers on it that their produce was from certain countries.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's weird.
Well, that's legally you have to do that.
Why though?
I'm not really sure. Something to do with trade relations and things like that. But you're supposed to let people know where the food comes from because some people want to know. Because different countries have different rules about how kind of pesticides they might use, things like that. So, so that your food would be disrupted, definitely. Because everything we eat comes from somewhere else. Every single day there are trucks rumbling into this parking lot to feed that store. On average, there is a 3-day supply of food in any given location in the stores. That includes everything from Mom and Pop's Deli to ShopRite or big stores or whatever, Super Walmart, 3 days.
That's why we always have to reorder.
Yes, constantly. You're constantly reordering. Now, a day like this is probably going to be 2 trucks coming in the next couple of days because people are buying a lot more than they usually do. Now, when that 3 days runs out and the last can of soup and dried milk is scooped up off even that can of God help us clam juice is gone, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be a little grace period because people have food they've hoarded at home. But then that food's going to start to run out. Now, if the government is still functioning enough, they're going to have FEMA in here to pass out emergency food supplies. That's going to be government cheese, dried milk, maybe even MREs, meals ready to eat. But maybe not. You can't bank on that. You don't know what kind of disaster it's going to be and how disorganized it's going to be.
The astronauts eat?
No, the military eats that. The astronauts, they eat...
it's like dried food or something.
Not dry food. They eat like paste. More like you can't have loose food in orbit because it'll float off your plate, just drift away. So a lot of what they eat is in tubes and bags. They squeeze it into their mouth, literally. Not the most palatable diet, but it does keep them alive. Soldiers eat MREs. That's meal ready to eat. It's basically prepackaged food stuffed in a little pouch that's maximized for nutrition and all that, and a few other things. And they give it to disaster victims too. You can live on it, but you won't be happy with it for long. But it is food. It will keep you alive. If that doesn't arrive, then you're scrounging. That's when the pets begin to disappear. That's when Bambi...
But wouldn't they be, irradiated too?
Not if we don't get the radiation. If there's a bomb in D.C., okay, Washington just got wiped out. They hit maybe 2 or 3 naval bases down around there. It's too far away for us. Unless there's a massive wind blowing up this way, and it's unlikely to happen, we're not going to get the radiation. But we will get the disruption to our transport. If those trains that haul the food out here are through an area full of radiation, we're not going to get them. They're not going to go. There's just going to be disruption all over the place. It'll be a long time getting sorted out. And that's assuming that nothing happens immediately after that first initial attack. Like an invasion, or God knows what else, or another follow-up attack somewhere else. Basically scaling up the action, whatever it is. Okay, you took out my city, now I'm taking out yours. Ooh, you took out another of my cities, I'm taking out 3 of yours. Before you know it, the whole damn country's gone. Now, what do you think is going to happen with these nice, civilized people when they don't have any food? You remember what happened during Hurricane Sandy? Over there at the firehouse, right here in the town of Carmel, a very civilized, upper-middle-class place. Everybody here is very well educated. Most of us, not you, but most of us.
I am so.
Whatever. They had a riot over ice, okay? 2 days into a disaster, they actually rioted over
so
ice.
Know how they were going to keep their food.
Yeah, exactly. Rioted. Now, what do you think is going to happen in some of the rougher neighborhoods? Yeah, exactly. Or if it's not over ice, but over food. Suddenly there's no food in the house. And you're hungry. You ate the dog. You ate the cat. Maybe dad has a hunting rifle and he shot Bambi in the backyard. Or a couple of birds. Sooner or later you're going to be pretty damn hungry. That is when they're going to start looking for food. And they're going to get it any way they can. Including, not limited to, but including killing people for it. Maybe even some of that too. What happened in Leningrad during World War II when the food ran out and it was months and months in the dead of winter? They started eating people. Cannibalism. It's usually what happens. And it's generally people like you that are the first to go.
Why?
Terry, you can't take care of yourself. You're utterly fucking helpless in a disaster. Okay? You don't know how to handle yourself. You're going to be panicking. You are going to be the born victim. They're going to be looking for you. You're going to be the dream of every rogue biker gang in the area looking for an easy mark to roast over the campfire. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. You don't know how to handle weapons. You don't know how to take care of yourself.
They have a gun and they just shoot them.
Good luck with that. They'll just kill you.
How if I shoot them?
So you just don't pick up a gun and know how to use it. You have to know how to use the damn thing and use it effectively. Well, there's more to it than that. You got to know how to take cover. You got to know how to move and fire. There's a lot of different things to keeping yourself alive with a gun. Gun is not a magic talisman that you can have
You
one.
get lucky too.
Yeah, you might, but it's likely to be more than one of them. You got one. Okay, he's down and bleeding. The other one gets you. And then you're down and bleeding briefly. And then you're dead, and they eat you.
I don't like that scenario.
Tough shit. That's what happens. Life's tough. The world is tough. Just look at the history of World War II.
See, you should have taught me how to shoot a long time ago.
Why would I teach you how to shoot? You're dangerous enough as it is.
Then I would know.
Why would I even want you to have that information? You're dangerous. I would never be able to trust you with that information.
Why?
You have a history of poor decision making.
I do not.
And poor impulse control.
I do not. It's not like I have a gun on me anyway.
Thank God. But if you happen to find one, like Billy's hitting whatever he has, yeah. No.
But then I would know how to use it, though.
God help us. We don't need that disaster.
Isn't it much better, that scenario, though, than me just finding a gun and just
Not
shooting it?
for the rest of us.
But if I just find a gun and I shoot it at people
Well,
without knowing how to use it, isn't that worse than...
Well, it'll make it easier for them to take you out anyway.
Why?
Because you'll be aiming wildly. You'll want to know how to aim it. You'll be flailing around with it. Any hit you have will be a lucky one. So it'll be easier to take care of the threat, very easily. Let's hope for the best, but you have to prepare for the worst. Now I wish I still had some of the preparations I had during the Cold War. I'm prepared, yes, today.
You're always stocking up on Spam.
Yes, I do.
You'll have Spam to last for 20 years.
I have Spam to last for 2 months. 2 months, if I ration it. Okay, and I mix it in with other things. After that, I'm screwed. I'm living on raw rice. And
what about water? You never get water.
I don't need water. There's artesian wells all over the place around us.
Yeah, but how does that work, though? How does that not get irradiated?
Because it's protected underground. And
what about when the well runs out?
Have you ever seen
wells run out?
Not that often, no. Especially not around here where the water table is pretty good.
How does it not run out?
Because it's constantly being replenished by aquifers under the ground.
But that water doesn't get irradiated?
No, because the dirt itself absorbs the radioactive particles as groundwater percolates down through it. It literally cleans the water as it goes down. So the deeper it goes, the cleaner it gets. That's why after a nuclear disaster of any
And that
kind...
won't be interrupted?
No. It's still going to keep right on raining and snowing and all the other things that always happen. Nature will go on. Human beings won't, but nature will go on. The planet will eventually heal itself over time. 10 million years from now, you won't even know human beings have been here. But right now, no. That's why in places like Fukushima, they had to take all the people away because the ground, down about 12 inches maybe, or less, is contaminated with radioactive particles that are never going to go away. They're always going to be there. If you want to grow something, you got to scrape all that earth up and put it somewhere. Where the hell do you put it? So they had to abandon the whole area. They got empty cities over there.
Why would you want to take a chance on that anyway?
Sometimes you don't have a choice, You may not be able to go somewhere else. In the case of the Japanese, they were able to relocate those people. But what if it's a much bigger population? Where does the entire population of the northeast United States, how many people here? 50 million people? 60, 70, 100 million people living around this area? In Jersey, in New York, in Philly. Where are they going to go? That's why some people say that maybe Indian Point wasn't such a damn good idea. Slap a nuclear power plant in the middle of the biggest metropolitan area in the country, if not the world. That's...
Oh, yeah, what would happen with that?
With an Indian Point?
Yeah.
What kind of disaster? There's all kinds of disasters that happen with nuclear plants. Some of them are minor. Some of them are catastrophic.
Well, what happens if they do something in Russia and we get that electromagnetic thing?
The plant goes into automatic shutdown. They should have
That's
some...
not good, though, right?
Well, it's not producing electricity.
But what about the cooling pools?
The cooling pools are supposed to have hardened backups and generators. Let's hope they do. That plant is actually old. It's one of the oldest in the country. It may actually have generators that predate, all of that, the electronics and stuff like that. Let's hope. All you got to do is hope. It's one of the scenarios that they have supposedly prepared for, is to harden facilities like that against electromagnetic pulse. And unlike a situation where there's no people around, there will be people around who can possibly have an immediate effect on what goes on there. They're not just going to abandon the plant and run away. They're going to work to fix whatever problems they are.
I would.
Well,
I'm out of here.
Electromagnetic pulse does not destroy property. It's not going to crack the containment shields and all that shit. It's still going to be there. The structure is there. Nothing is blown apart. Nothing's leaking. So that means you have a period of time where if something's not working right, you can work to fix it. There are alternatives. You can do whatever. There's a lot of smart people over there. They know how to fix things like that. So hopefully, now if there's a nuclear blast nearby that damages that plant, then yeah, that could add to the radiation problem big time. Nothing much you can do about that because you're going to have enough problems anyway. You know, it's a sad situation, but what you really got to worry about there is a disaster that affects the plant itself. Something physical, like a terrorist attack or an earthquake or something that cracks it open, and before you know it...
I'm surprised they haven't tried to attack that already.
Because it's extremely well guarded. You ever see those helicopters that fly low over the area all the time? They're patrolling the reservoirs. They're looking for people dumping things like cesium into the water. And the same agencies that do that... No, the lights went on that car. The same agencies that do that are also guarding those nuclear plants and other facilities. Our dams, for instance. You know, they're keeping watch and all of that. So we're lucky.
And we always have like a helicopter flying over where we live.
Yes. Well, they're watching you too, but...
They're not watching me. Why are they watching me?
No, I'm sure they have reason. They've seen these videos.
No, but we have the reservoir right there too.
Well, yes, they're watching the reservoir. They're making sure you're not dumping cesium into the water. Do you know what cesium is? Okay, you know the stuff that makes a beautiful blue glow like cobalt blue? You see that color? Well, if you ever see a stainless steel canister with that shit leaking out of it, reach down, grab a handful, and put it all over your face because it's really...
No, that's okay.
Because they did that in a little city, little town in Mexico, and everybody's dead now. They're all buried in lead coffins because the shit came out of an X-ray machine. It's what's in an X-ray machine that lets it take the X-rays that can see through you. It's the radioactive stuff. Okay. It's some of the most deadly radioactive substance in the world. Small amount goes a long way.
So, like, what if you're in a hospital, right, and you're getting an X-ray and like it leaks or something?
That doesn't happen because it's in an extremely, extremely, extremely tough stainless steel cylinder. You know, it's not exposed in any way. You can't reach in the machine and touch it. Nothing. You have to do it deliberately.
Can it malfunction or anything?
The machine can break, sure, but you're not going to be able to crack open that canister without deliberate effort. That means you're going to take a saw or a cutting tool of some kind to open it, which is
What if it
suicide.
explodes like on its own or something?
It's not that kind of radioactive material. It doesn't explode. It doesn't produce gases, anything like that. It's just extremely radioactive, so that if you touch it, you have instant radio. Yep, there he is. Hit the thing. Can you manage to open the trunk?
Oh no, I opened the gas.
Man, oh man, every single time.